Damn, guys. Call of the Night has been on fire recently. It was so good this week as well, as we really got to see the internal struggle of Ko after the traumatic ass events of last week's episode. Ko he's in a bad place right now, and he's trying to figure things out. And this episode was just simply fantastic. Really giving us a deep dive into Ko, but also really giving us a deep dive into Anko as a person, showing us just how crazy she really is. But enough talking about it. Let's just get straight into it and talk about Call of the Night, episode 12 today, because it was great. Now, as I just stated, our episode begins with Ko running through recent events in his head, finally coming to terms with, I really don't understand vampires. I don't even know what's going on anymore. As we see that Mahiru is kind of in a similar situation, and he goes to Anko actually to ask some questions. And let's just say she's up to no good. She's definitely up to no good with Mahiru right now. So Ko goes immediately to go see Nazuna to try to get a firm understanding of what exactly is going on. What am I feeling right now? And the second that she sees him, that she tries to instantly suck his blood, because it's been a while. You know, so she instantly wants to, and she says, oh, I was so close to losing it right here. And it's here that Ko has a flashback to the previous episode, and he actually pushes her away, to her surprise. He immediately tries to apologize for it, like, no, that's not what I meant, I swear. But she knows something's up immediately, and she says, all right, tell me what happened. Tell me what's wrong. So Ko starts talking to her a bit, and he explains the situation, and she's like, oh, so a vampire lost control, huh? He probably just couldn't control his urge to feed anymore. And Ko hesitantly asks her, like, would you ever get that way, Nazuna? Could something like that ever happen to you? And she immediately grabs him and says, hey, you don't need to be thinking stuff like that. Don't lump me in with him. I'm gonna be fine. And she says, yeah, let's go for a walk and talk about this more. And on their walk, she starts explaining that I don't know much about it, but vampires who don't drink blood for 10 years die. And I've heard there are some cases that there are some vampires who don't drink for 10 years, intentionally killing themselves, who refuse to accept that they become a vampire and die without feeding. And then Nazuna starts asking about this detective. And Ko's like, I don't know, but she just knows I don't want to be a vampire, and she knows I want to be one, and she's trying to convince me otherwise. She's like, she knows a lot about me. And Nazuna's like, so what, you're quitting? You're just up and quitting? Ko says, I don't intend to, but I'm worried. This detective, she knows how to kill vampires, and she actually killed one in front of us. And then he asks Nazuna, like, is it even possible for a human to kill a vampire? And we take a long pause on Nazuna in this moment. This is a very significant scene. Remember this. Remember this for later. And then he tells Nazuna, I don't want you to get killed because of me. Akira was terrified after that situation. Mahiru was scared too. I was even scared. This was the first time I ever thought to myself that vampires were scary. And Nazuna just smirks at him in this instance and says, it took you this long to figure that out, huh? Ko starts thinking to himself that, I was probably just worked up emotionally. I think I'm alright now. And he actually tells Nazuna to suck his blood in this instance. And she does. And Ko starts thinking to himself, like, living with fear isn't all that bad, I suppose. I guess I can deal with it for her. But it's here we transition to a scene with Ko and Mahiru, actually. And even in an episode like this, we had to put a little bit of comedy in, as they apparently go to a bar as Mahiru's out delivering flowers. Because if you remember, his parents own a flower shop, so he does deliveries around town. And let's just say Ko is kind of enamored by one of the hostesses in there. He's really admiring the assets. And she even has to call him out for it, like, oh, you just gonna keep staring at me? And as they're walking away, Mahiru actually tells Ko that, I never thought you were such a lech, Ko. I never thought you had it in you, man. And Mahiru tells him, you gotta be subtle about it, I'm a master at subtlety when it comes to stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, the situation gets serious yet again. And I'm telling you guys now, this is going to be a common trend moving forward. We're going to have our fun, innocent scenes in this show, But we're absolutely going to have more serious scenes from now on. When I titled my video last week that things will never be the same, that was not a joke. As Mahiru stops Ko and says, "Why do you want to be a vampire?" He says, what do you think of a fun? Do you have to be a vampire to do it? I know you don't like fitting in, and you really pushed yourself when you were in school. You got tired of that situation, and I get that, right? But Ko cuts him off instantly. And Mahiru asks him, like, what we saw at school the other day. That was a vampire, right? And Ko tries to deny it right away, like, no, that was just an unusual case, I promise. But he's like, so it was one though, right? You know, Akira could have been killed in that situation. She could have been killed right then and there, Ko. Is that what you want to be? Do you want to be a vampire? And Ko can't even really answer that question. He's kind of shocked. Mahiru's like, look, I know we kind of drifted apart once we got back to school. We were in different classes and all that. I didn't want to get in the way of you trying to change your image. So when we ran into each other for the first time in so long, I was worried. I was worried that we'd never get to talk like we used to again. But it turns out that my worries were not a problem at all. And it's in this scene he asked Ko probably the hardest hitting question in this episode of, what do you want to do by becoming a vampire? Why exactly do you want to be one? And Ko in this situation is stunned in the silence. He doesn't have an answer. And then Ko starts thinking to himself, like, why do I want to? Is it because of freedom? Aren't I free now? I already wander around at night and I don't go to school. Like, is it because of Nazuna? Like, I hang out with her because I want to be a vampire, though. Then he's like, is it because I want to fall in love? And then he realizes, no, wait, my order's mixed up. I'm trying to fall in love so I can become a vampire. And Mahiru snaps him out of that daze, like, are you going to become a vampire so you can trick people into drinking their blood? Or are you not going to drink anyone's blood and lose control like before? Really showing the fact that Anko really shook him up. She planted all these seeds in Mahiru's head, and he is freaked out by this situation. And he tells Ko that you don't have to decide right away, but I want you to really think about it, about what it means to be a vampire. Showing that he's still Ko's friend, but making it very clear that he doesn't want him to do this. So Ko, after this conversation, immediately goes to Nazuna's place, and without saying a word, he just embraces her right away. And she's shocked by this, like, whoa, what's going on? Are your passions finally not controlled anymore? And he says, I'm sorry, just let me stay like this for a bit. Just for a little bit. And you can tell she's worried right away about him. As he thinks to himself, like, come on, Nazuna, figure out what I'm thinking right now in this situation. And it's here for the first time that they actually head over to Ko's house. And she's instantly interested, snooping around his room like, oh, what's this? What's this? This is your room, huh? Wait a minute, I'm disappointed. Why is there no porn here? Because all guys just apparently have porn in their room. Ko's like, because I don't look at it, obviously. She's like, nah, no way. You're a young guy. There's no way you don't have any. And Nazuna starts teasing him in this instance, too. Kind of making fun of him a bit. Like, oh, isn't this like one of those famous situations? Ko's like, weren't you the one that wanted to come over, though? And he instantly becomes conscious of the situation. Like, I haven't had a girl in my room since I started school. Like, this is nerve-wracking. This is super unnerving. And he becomes painfully aware that Nazuna is there with him. But it's here yet again that our scene gets far more serious when Nazuna suddenly asks him, so you've reconsidered, haven't you? Ko tries to instantly deny it, but Nazuna's like, you met with your friend, didn't you? I don't have to suck your blood to understand the situation. You're unsure. A vampire that never sucked blood, your friends, a detective that can kill vampires. It'd be weird if you weren't unsure. A normal person, in fact, would just give up on the idea in favor of their friends. But Ko doesn't have an answer to that. After thinking for a bit, he asked me why I wanted to become a vampire, why I wanted to be one. And Ko says, after I thought about it, I think it's because I like the night. The night is free. It's like a whole different world where people are different. But lately I've started to see that it's not just all fun. And I was alright with it at first because you acknowledged my feelings on the matter. You were there for me. But now it's one thing if there's harm involved. It's fine if it's just me, but if I were to hurt my friends because of this situation, I don't know what I would do. And Ko tries to play it off like, I have fun as things are right now, I mean, it's not like you were eager to turn me into an offspring anyway, right? Then we pan over to Nazuna as she gives him a weak reply, and you can tell right away that she doesn't like what she's hearing. And Ko is yet again stopped into silence. And after sitting in silence for a bit, Nazuna says, all right, listen up. Let me help you make a decision. And she asks him, why do you think the night felt so fun to you, Ko? Ko says because there's freedom, and she's like, that's a part of it. But taking that matter further, it's because it's out of the ordinary. And she starts explaining that your ordinary is daytime and going to school. And night is the opposite of that. So of course it felt exhilarating to be doing something you never really do. But think about this. Right now, do you get equally as excited as you do compared to when you first stayed out your first night? Isn't the fun you feel part of the ordinary now? And she tells Ko that nothing out of the ordinary lasts long. Being a vampire is just boring. It's boring all the time. She says, I'm sorry I lied to you. It's been decades since I've become a vampire, but I've never been anything but bored. I just wait for time to pass as I spend each shallow, meaningless day. Then Ko asks her, then why'd you try to show me the fun stuff of it? Why'd you try to show me how fun it could be? And Nazuna asks him, like, why did I? Why did I do that, Ko? Because maybe that's how I want it to be. And she actually tries to leave after that statement, and Ko tries to stop her. But because of anime shenanigans, he somehow ends up tripping her up. They both fall on the bed. He's on top of her. The lights turn off, and you just have the perfect amount of moonlight through the window just shining on the both of them. And I'm just sitting here like, damn, anime, you did it again. And Nazuna just looks at him like, what? And actually leans in to potentially kiss him, but she goes past his lips and whispers in his ear like, what? You thought I was gonna kiss you? And our boy Ko is going through it like, you weren't? She actually ends up licking his neck, though, where she normally sucks his blood. And she ends up leaving, and our boy is just bewildered. Let's just say that tissue that was in his room earlier might be used a different way tonight. But it's here we transition to a very serious scene, actually, where Ko actually decides to meet back up with Anko, because he wants to get to the bottom of some of these questions he has. And the first thing she says is, what's up, Ko? I thought it was about time you called me. And of course she makes the same joke as before, saying, oh, you called me because you want to go to a cafe and slip into a scandalous relationship, huh? And Ko's like, nah, I don't want to do that. What are you talking about? She's like, what? You're not? And she's actually getting angry about it. And Ko's like, why are you getting angry about this? She says, oh, I thought it'd be fun to string along a younger guy for a change, which is something totally different than what I thought she'd say in this situation. When I first read that, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. But it's for a reason. But then we get down to business, as she says, so do you want to talk about vampires right now? And Ko immediately asks her, like, how much do you know about me? How much do you exactly know about me? And she says, oh, besides your idiotic dream of I want to be a vampire, let's see. And she starts naming off so many things, so many unbelievably personal things about Ko. Things like you don't have any hobbies, but you like to collect sneakers on the low. Like you have no experience with romance, but you like girls with big boobs. You don't own porn, but you sometimes save those kind of images on your phone and then get embarrassed about it and delete them later. And Ko's like, yo, that's so creepy. How do you know all this stuff? She's like, I'm a detective, obviously. It's my job to detect things. And she says, I was just messing with you the whole time, Ko. I was just trying to figure out if that was true or not. And Ko's like, how much of that can really be speculation? And then Ko finally gets to the heart of his matter when he says, why do you not want me to be a vampire so bad? And she just flat out says, because vampires are evil from the human perspective, of course. And she goes on to explain why. She explains that, you see, humans causing misfortune for other humans is sometimes unavoidable, depending on the time and situation. but I think it's unacceptable for a vampire to cause it. People live among other humans, so misfortune is bound to happen, but I can't allow misfortune that never should have existed in the first place. Vampires only ever make people unhappy. You saw an example of that yourself, didn't you? And Ko argues that, but you said that was only because he didn't drink blood for 10 years. And then she says that's because he held on to his dignity as a human till the very end and didn't drink blood. And then she asks him, can you say for sure that when you become a vampire, you're okay with drinking human blood? Or you'll never drink it and you'll live with the pain for 10 long years? Can you really say that, Ko? And then she says, besides, considering you haven't fallen in love yet despite the amount of contact you've had with vampires, I honestly doubt you'll ever become a vampire, Ko. Have you ever considered that you might lack romantic urges to begin with? And it's here that Anko really starts showcasing her real personality, saying how, oh, that'd be a problem in and of itself, right? You definitely wouldn't become a vampire 100%. In a situation like that, there'd be no need for me to convince you. But wait a minute, there's a problem now, isn't there? You know about their existence, which means you're a liability to the vampires now. Simultaneously, the vampire that brought you into the fold, Nazuna, she won't be safe either, will she? They might just up and murder the both of you, you know? Ko says, I don't want that. She gets right in his face, stares directly in his eyes and say, then you make your decision right now. She tells him, you can live as a human or become a vampire and get killed by me. Decide right now. And Ko says, do you really have the ability to kill a vampire? She says, you saw, didn't you? I can't tell you how, but your fate depends on your answer right here and now. Then she says, if it means you'll choose the proper life of a human, I'll do anything, as she embraces him in this moment. Ko says, but won't I end up getting killed by the vampires? And she tells him in her own unnerving way, don't worry about that, because I'll kill every single one of them. Ko is horrified by what he just heard. He instantly denies her, saying, no, I can't believe those people are really that evil. They fret over things like us and have something that's akin to respect for humans. They have the ability to understand people's vulnerabilities. Saying that they only ever cause misfortune is a lie. And it's here Ko flat out says, I can't agree with your reasoning on this. She's like, fine, be that way. I didn't want to deny you of your nighttime freedom, but now I'll have to take the easiest route. As she actually calls the cops and reports that there's a kid walking around in this area late at night and it's making people uncomfortable. She actually rats him out to the cops, just glaring at him the entire time. And she says, you know, police are really quite dedicated. One call and they'll come immediately. Before you have to give up your nighttime, you better hurry home. And Ko has no choice but to run right now. He has no choice but to run and leave this situation behind. And as Ko's running through the streets, he frets that, damn, I wasn't able to ask her what I really wanted to. Like how she kills vampires, why they say her blood tastes awful, why they say mine tastes good, or how much she really knows about vampires. And as Ko makes it onto the bridge, he notices that the police are right there, so he doesn't have a choice but to run. So he actually goes and lays low in the park, where he thinks no one is going to see him. And he starts thinking to himself, like, what should I do? Should I go see Nazuna? But I can't cause her any trouble in this situation. Like, I want to not get her in trouble as much as possible. The detective made it seem like a joke, but she obviously investigated me quite a bit. But Ko can't deny that he wants to meet up with Nazuna, just to be able to talk with her about random things. And it's here he gets met up by another vampire we saw previously, a different one, Hatsuka. And that's how our episode ends, with them meeting each other. And let me just say, this episode was great, guys. It was a great episode. We're in for another fantastic episode next week, and we're in for a bit of a surprise, actually. That's all I'm gonna say. We're in for a bit of a surprise next week. It's going to be great because next week is our finale, but this week was fantastic. Yet again, it really showcases that everything isn't all fucking hunky-dory between the vampires, man. Things are serious. There's serious troubles and problems that they have to deal with. And now Ko is finally realizing just exactly what that is. And this episode fantastically explained the situation perfectly, just how he's feeling in this moment. So you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. I thought it was great. But yeah, guys, I think that'll be it for this episode, We got one more episode that I think will be fantastic, and we'll probably wrap this season up very, very well. Hoping for a season 2. I really am. But again, you guys let me know what you thought of it down below. So until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day. I'll see you.